Thanks, Charlie. Yes, so I'm Sarah. I live in East Sussex. I've been employing PS for 26 years. I have a team of 9 PAs, some who do full-time hours, some part-time, and others who do cover only. I've always done my own payroll. But when we first started, it was quite different. I was living with my family. I had fewer hours and less complex care needs and different funders as well. Um, Also, there were less employer responsibilities. And back in those days, it shows how old I am. It was done on a big paper ledger with charts and remittance books that you filled in to take to the post office when you paid the HMRC. So what started with pen and paper has now become a quick 30-minute weekly task with a few clicks. So very different. So why do I do it? Why do I do payroll myself? So like I said, I started doing it when things were much simpler. Uh, but even when I changed to a 24-hour care package, the same principles applied. I do find it quite satisfying doing it myself. I used to pay for weekly. As you can imagine, with 9 PAs and changing rotas, I decided weekly was easier for me to keep track of everything. The payroll each week, as I said, takes about 30 minutes, which includes the making payments, downloads, downloading reports, and getting out of it. Um, so it makes me feel more on the ball. It gives me greater control of my own care, and we can put things right immediately if errors are made, rather than having to rely on a payroll agent to do it and go back and forth. In the early days, I did make a mistake, which I felt awful about. And from there, it was suggested by my independent living advisor that I learn how to use payroll software. It was an absolute game changer. These days, I think it's more common for someone in receipt of direct payments to choose this option. You can meet with resistance from funders, depending on which area you live in. What I would hope that you could be argued for, an annual or monthly software subscription is cost effective. Not out the go back and forth. Doing it yourself can be daunting. And I do get that it might not be for everyone, but there are huge benefits. Um, so getting started, I got training from the contracted support service. I know this is not always available in each area. I'd learned the basics of payroll responsibilities before I actually went to do it myself. There are videos you can watch online. HMRC has a lot of free resources. Um, you can read guidance. And in the past, I've attended the webinars run by them on subjects like statutory sick pay. Um, it's good to shop around for different software. I did make a recent change, which I thought was going to be a big deal, but it really wasn't. I got free remote assistance to help transfer my data. And I would recommend, if possible, to start at the beginning of the tax year. But like I said, this is not the end of the world if you can't. But I've found that talking to people helps. Talking to people that are already doing it. Peer support, as I'm sure you all know, can be invaluable. Um, so looking more in detail about what I do, so with payments and responsibilities. I pay wages, pension contributions weekly, and I pay the tax and national insurance due on a monthly basis. But that's because I have such a big care package. I believe that you could also still pay HMRC quarterly if it's below a certain amount. It doesn't take me long to calculate, especially with the new payroll system I use. It's easy to program pay rates. And after the initial setup, which as I said I did have help with from the platform support agents, it's been a really straightforward process. I've developed a good routine, and after each payroll run, I save all the documents that the funders, in my case the Integrated Care Board for Sussex, require. And I also fill in a spreadsheet of hours, rates, holiday accrued or taken. And then when the bank statements come available, I double check that what has come out matches what the payroll documents say. The only time when my routine deviates is at the end of the tax year and setting up for the new one. And I always know to put some extra time aside to allow for the extra admin and allow for little hitches. But software platforms are great these days. Once it's set up, it's rinse and repeat. The system helps catch mistakes for you. But that's not to say you don't need a good grasp of what things should look like. One thing I've etched in my brain now is to always tick that I'm eligible for employment allowance, then send a certain report within the first month of the tax year. It's not the end of the world, and I've learnt by mistakes to put things right. Basically, each year you get a given amount to offset against employer national insurance contributions. The software helps you automatically adjust the amount due to HMRC until that allowance has been used up. Each time the payroll is run, in my case on a weekly basis, there is a stage when the payslips are created and emailed to all my staff. I did used to in the old days print them out. Now email is the norm. And so I imagine most, if not all, software has the option to email payslips. You also have to send a full payment submission each time the payroll is finalised. And that gives HMRC the real-time information. There can be issues that arise, problems with wages. I've made some errors. Some examples of which are with pensions. I was calculated them wrong for a few months. I picked up the error. I spoke to somebody on the web chat, and they taught me how to put things right. I have made missed payments to HMRC. Soon realised, but you can incur charges. So now I've got mechanisms in place to make sure I won't do it again. Likewise, you can phone them or do a web chat, but they can get extremely busy. If there are errors made in wages, which I'd like to think I don't do very often. Well, I am after all human, and it's my figures that I put in. I can put it right the following payday. That's possible, or if it's a bigger mistake and I could correct things afterwards, it can be done, but it's more complicated a process. So yes, I definitely had my share of why is this number not matching most, but don't be daunted by those Um, so I do have to keep good records. I recently moved to a cloud-based payroll, so everything is stored there. But as a matter of course, I download and save everything at the time, so that for the funders, so that I put it in folders corresponding to each month on my laptop, so that it's quite easy to just send off. Like each authority is different. I have to provide payslips, pension contribution summaries, PAYE, HMRC, remittance reports, any other invoices for payments made, which might include trading costs, previous checks, plus I have to send in bank statements. So advice I would give and tips. It's really useful to sign up for the HMRC updates. You can go on the website and put your email address in and you get sent any changes in legislation, key updates, things you need to know about as an employer. Um, I would also recommend looking at the free webinars available and seeing what different groups offer as well. Talk to people. The payroll software platforms have online guides. So usually if there's something you're stuck with, you can look it up in the library or however they provide online guidance at any time of the day. So if it's out of hours, you can look something up. Um, that comes in especially handy at the end of year because there are things that you have to do differently and in the correct order. So they give really good checklists. Um, I would also recommend logging into your government gateway on a monthly basis. This again is through my own mistakes. And inevitably distractions or life events can make you think you've done something that you haven't. And if you miss a payment, you can accrue a small charge. So it's a good idea to check that what HMRC have got on there so it matches what you've got. And it just sort of keeps everything running smoothly. I can't really emphasize enough the importance of backing up records as well. Because if even with the cloud-based systems, things might be offline for a time, and I have a memory stick that every so often I just upload files on. I think you want to keep records for so long as well. I believe it's about 6 or 7 years for funders at HMRC. Um, I would say remember that if you do get in a bit of a pickle with anything, don't leave it. It can be sorted. As I said, live chat is very helpful with things like Nest, which is the workplace pension provider that I use. It can usually be sorted very quickly, so just, yeah, the sooner you deal with it, the better. Making mistakes is not the end of the world, especially when you start. I would suggest writing a to-do list, so you know the order of things have to done. Put dates on calendars. Write notes. I'm a big believer in writing notes. I don't think I can function without them. So, the more you do this, the less you would to rely on the notes or lists. But it just becomes second nature. I think it's not about being perfect so much as about being consistent and proactive. Um, but I think just to close, I feel like I've rattled through this quite quickly, but um, it sounds a lot, but it is just part of my routine now. It's, my weekly thing to do. I think key takeaway would be that doing the payroll yourself, certainly manageable, and it helps to have the right tools and the right support in place. So it's not so much of a onerous task to me, it's part of my independence. And, well, I'm pleased that I've been able to do it for all these years that I tend to keep going. Um, so I think I'll wrap up there, but I'm happy to elaborate on anything I've said, or I can repeat anything and answer questions in the next section. And thank you for listening.